privilege today on a rhino dart hunt to meet Emma Rambert, and she's from England, but you've been here in South Africa for 18 years or so?
Years, nearly 20 years.
And so tell us what brought you here and who you were when you came and kind of the transition of who you've become in being here in South Africa.
I was a normal vet in England, so I was doing cats and dogs, and I like to travel. And then this was one of my travels. And I came over just at the end of 99, and I joined the game capture team. I'd never heard of managing animals. I just thought that Africa was just one big savannah full of animals. And then when I got over here, I realised how important it was to manage animals, and that's what gave me my job, because then I became a 100% wildlife vet, and I've been doing that for nearly 18 years now, so I've never gone back.
Now, when you came here, you told me you were a vegetarian, and maybe bet a little bit against hunting. Is that an accurate?
I was very accurate. I think being typically English and not being informed, I was vegetarian since I was about 11, and I only really started eating meat 10 years ago. I won't tell you my age now, that will work it out, but 10 years ago, I was 13. So only 10 years ago. I'm still not a massive meat eater, but I'm very distinctive between what types of meat. And I've got 2 young girls as well, and I don't want to force the vegetarianism on them unless they realise it. It's very healthy dishes. But especially I call it happy meat, the game meat.
Right.
You've got very healthy meat with no antibiotics, no steroids, and you can't get better. It's healthy meat. So that's why it's up to them if they want to do that. But now I see there's no real reason. The reason why I did do it is because of intensive agriculture, and I didn't like that idea, because the reason why I'm a vet is because I love animals.
Right.
So when I came over here and realised the setup here, I still thought it was out of Africa, and it is, but it's a little bit more hardcore. We've got to manage the animals. They're in big areas or small areas, and that's when I first heard there's 2 types of conservation. Back home I heard about one, where they're left alone. But over here now we're talking about if you're going to conserve an animal, you have to conserve the people around it.
Right.
And that's not what I could understand before. So now, since I've been over here, around all these big areas that we've been managing to start conserving and put new animals on, wild animals, they're surrounded by communities, and we've got to look after those people, because if the people don't think that those animals have got a value, they're not going to look after them.
Right.
So it's both. We've got to. I still prefer working with fine animals, but I understand the importance of working with the community. And that's not a story that's really told, because it's not a very interesting story for the people at home. You know, they just want to see the animals looking happy, and we do have very happy animals.
Right. Now, you're not a hunter.
No, I'm
but,
not.
But you've also learned the value of hunters in the concept, the true concept of what conservation is, and the importance of it. Because my picture of, this is my 15th trip to South Africa since 2009, and I too have learned a ton about conservation. And the reality is there would not be animals like we have the privilege of seeing out here on this great 48,000 hectare property. There wouldn't be animals on it, really, if there wasn't hunting. Because if there's no value on the animals, there wouldn't be any. So, I mean, is that an accurate statement?
I think it's very accurate, because when I first came over here, I didn't get this value of the animals. I just wanted to work with them. And I think that is definitely a story that's not told over there. I don't hunt, I've got no interest actually, I really haven't, but I understand the importance of it, and I'll eat meat. You know, if my girls want to shoot a springback, which we're getting to do, that's fine. I don't want to do it, but I've told them that I'll eat some of it.
Awesome.
So, you know, it's part of the bigger picture that I didn't think was there until. It's very easy to make an opinion when you're sitting in a different country, but when you actually come to the country and see how it works, how the community works, how it benefits the community, there's nothing else to benefit the community.
Right.
And if there isn't a value on the animal, it's going to be killed and eaten by anybody, and they're not going to be looked after, and the fences aren't going to be maintained. I mean, we're lucky we're in one of the biggest areas we've got. You don't see a fence.
Right.
But usually on the, I'm going to be a bit more controversial now, but in the government reserves, they've got their hands tied because of funding, or funding that's not going the right way. The private guys, they know what they want and what the ending is, and so they're doing the most for the communities now, because the community's not getting any benefit from anywhere else,
right,
except the people that are there. So if we look after them, they'll look after us as well.
Right. I've had some great experiences in these years that I've come here, but it's interesting how certain animals are trigger points. You know, my daughter and I shot giraffes together because there was a carrying capacity situation where there were 6 over their capacity to care for them. And so we harvested two giraffes, and the uproar from the anti-hunting community was crazy, threatening our lives, all kinds of things. I hunted a female lion. It actually had TB. And so it was a necessary harvest. It wasn't on my plan. It was just something that came about. It was a sick lion, and the owner literally thought he can get some funds rather than no funds if it was going to die. And so we did that, and that caused uproar and responses. But it was neat because I got to see one of the Zulu chiefs of the area come in and use every single bit of that animal, including the innards, wiping up the blood and making it into what he was calling a medicine, the best I could understand him. Everything, and the meat that goes into the community from hunts like this from time to time, and the workers who get supplied with meat. I just see the benefit all around. I don't need to convince anybody to hunt. I just want people to be educated in their assessment of what hunting does and what it doesn't do. And today when I was talking to you just briefly on that rhino hunt, it really helped me to see that people who are open can understand this concept and the value of it. Whether they want to hunt or not is irrelevant, but they can't rule it out because it's a reality.
But I think there's a lot of emotional feeling, especially the giraffe. It's a beautiful animal.
It is.
But the thing is about management in an area is carrying capacity. And we have the scientists to say, that's too many.
Right.
We've got it, particularly elephant, unfortunately, are extremely destructive animal. And you cannot go over carrying capacity. So what do? That is a protein source. I hate to say it, but it's a protein source. And the community can benefit from that. They don't get protein. A lot of the people over here are starving.
Right.
Social media get hold of something like it's usually an elephant, it's usually a lion. I mean, a lion is very emotive, they're very intelligent creatures, but they still have to be managed. And if they have taken an elephant, I think within minutes, that carcass is used.
Right.
So if you can just hold your heart for a moment and just see the bigger picture, and I think unfortunately the bigger picture is never discussed because it's not so interesting.
Right.
I think the bigger picture is to see that the wealthy American hunter. I mean, I don't know what it is because not everybody's wealthy.
Right.
So but it's a type, and they're a type as well. I think but they're dangerous.
Yeah, and it's become dangerous, unfortunately, for the hunter. I mean, we've seen the ruin of people's lives, completely ruined over a hunt. People who are contributing actively to conservation with their finances. And their lives get ruined, and most of the people sitting behind a keyboard are not contributing anything, no financial resource at all. Well, today we had a privilege of seeing a rhino, a dart hunt on a rhino, and the great thing about a green dart hunt like that is all of the money is able to be used properly for the furtherance of the species, and in this case a rhino. I know that's a species that you seem to love, but I'm glad we got to meet today and get to experience that hunt together. And there was a great thing that came out of it. More money, more resources going towards taking care of the rhino.
That's why I'm doing it.
And that's why you do what you do. So, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And hopefully those of you who are listening in on this will learn and listen to the realities of not only South Africa, but conservation of our species around the world.